calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
Hey, what do you say? It's a Monday. Monday, May 23rd. Good to see you today. Hope you had a great weekend. Boy, it was a rainy, miserable weekend here in Washington, D.C. But still, hope you had a chance wherever you were to kick back, enjoy your friends and family, and just recharge your batteries. Ready to go in this whole new week with lots and lots to talk about. On Monday, May 23rd, the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill. And look forward to hearing from you about the news of the day. Give us a call on our toll-free line at 866-55-PRESS. We got a 2-week reprieve in between primaries, so it's nice to relax just a little bit. Nothing going on the primary front until June 4 and June 5, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And then June 7, 6 big states, New Jersey, New Mexico, California, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. By the way, the polls in the meantime show that 6 out of 10 Americans have a negative, unfavorable opinion of both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, which led Bernie Sanders to comment over the weekend that once again it looks like Americans could be forced with a choice between the lesser of two evils. That's a little strong. I think it may be a choice between good and evil. Bernie Sanders also picking up some flack because he has endorsed the opponent of Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz in her Florida primary. He's endorsed the challenger, Tim Canova. And Donald Trump picking up the endorsement of the NRA over the weekend, even though in the past he has supported a ban on assault weapons. Now, who knows where he stands, although he does say he is for teachers having guns in the classroom, except when he's not for teachers having guns in the classrooms. You go figure it out. Nobody else can. Lots to talk about today. Good to have you with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
You taught him how to hit a baseball. how to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Latest national poll out over the weekend. Donald Trump, 46. Hillary Clinton, 44. A dead heat. What the hell is going on? Hey, hello, everybody. What do you say? It is a Monday. Happy Monday, May 23rd. So good to see you today. We hope you had a good weekend. We're able to relax a little bit. Kick back with your friends and family. Recharge your batteries. Ready to go here into a whole new week with a whole new set of issues to talk about. Well, some of the same ones from last week as well. But we have a little 2-week reprieve in between, or maybe a 2-week reprieve in between primaries. Nothing this week, nothing next week, nothing until the following weekend. June 4, Virgin Islands, and June 5, Puerto Rico. I may have them backwards. And then, June 4, Virgin Islands, June 5, Puerto Rico. And then June 7 is when we have the big enchilada with California, New Jersey, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. Then moving up to June 14 here. The final one here in the District of Columbia. Good to see you today. Enjoy this 2 weeks from the vacation from the primaries, but that doesn't mean the political scene has gone away at all. Yes, this latest poll is pretty scary with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in a dead heat nationwide. And also the two of them have the highest unfavorables of anybody who's ever run for president. The two of them, just about 6 out of 10 Americans have a negative impression of both of them, which led Bernie Sanders over the weekend to say, once again, it looks like we could be forced to choose between the lesser of two evils. Did Bernie go too far with that statement? We got so much to talk about today. We look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS. Look forward to getting your comments on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show with Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Ready to go?
Monday.
Good morning.
Here we go.
I assume you're ready to go.
Well, I mean,
you better be.
Ready as I'm going to be.
That's right. Here it is. Take what you get, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ray Rogers, ready to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And yes, Cyprian Bolding on the job this morning as our videographer. It was a muddy track that greeted the horses on Saturday at the Preakness, the second of the Triple Crown, and everybody was looking for
Nyquist.
Right, Nyquist to start. I thought that was a name, but it sounded like a drug.
NyQuil is the drug. Nyquist is the horse.
Right.
Yeah, I know. You gotta be careful. That's right.
So we are looking for Nyquist to repeat, and Nyquist ran a good race, but in the end lost out to Exaggerator. It was an exciting finish.
And they're into the stretch, and it's Nyquist in front. His adversary, Exaggerator, got a jump on him, and he's gone by to take the lead as they come to the 8th pole. It is Exaggerator in front. Now Nyquist switches back to the outside. Exaggerator down to the 16th pole. The gutty Nyquist is coming at him in second, and then Stradivari, followed by Cherry Wine. But Exaggerator has turned the tables. He has won the Preakness Stakes.
There you go. No Triple Crown this year.
No Triple Crown.
That is the first race that Nyquist ever lost. Ever. in his racing
I was
career.
reading about this, how Exaggerator had tried to take down Nyquist, I think, 5 other times.
Yeah.
And had never done it.
Shout out to Cherry Wine. That's a great name for a horse.
Cherry Wine is a pretty great
Who
name
plays
for a
second?
horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nyquist was third.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, Cherry Wine. That is nice. Yeah.
By the way, 2 horses died during the Preakness. Not the actual big Preakness, but they have the things leading up to it. This is why I don't watch horse racing.
No, it's disgusting. I mean, it really is a sport that I think ought to be banned.
I agree.
We got it. So Elias Isquith on a Monday, he'll join us from cafe.com. Reporters in from the New York Times and CBS News. We'll get the latest from CBS News on what we know about the loss of Egypt Air 804. And President Harold Schaitberger, president of the Firefighters of America. We all love the firefighters and depend on them. He's going to be in for his first visit to studio. Very excited to see him. And Donald Trump. Where does he stand on guns exactly? But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple other stories making news. This is a troubling story. The company Pilgrim's Pride is a company that makes food, chicken nuggets specifically, and they sell them to schools. And they just announced a recall. 5.5 million pounds of chicken nuggets are being recalled because they could contain extraneous material, including plastic, wood, rubber, and metal.
What?
The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service made the announcement that they took a look at the establishment and found that it could have easily contaminated that much chicken. So a huge recall is underway. Again, this is not necessarily going to be chicken nuggets that you would find in the store, but it would be ones that your children eat at school. So make sure you know what kind of chicken nuggets your school is serving and that they take note of that, because that is not a great story. New York Post has a very interesting story about the TV show The Biggest Loser. You seen this show?
No.
So you take a bunch of people who are overweight and you put them on the show and they try and lose weight. And whoever loses the most weight is the winner. Well, the New York Post has this whole big story about the trainers on the show because they do work with professionals, but says that the trainers had actually pushed pills onto the contestants to not only give them energy, but to curb their appetite, because the trainers sort of have a vested interest in this as well. The trainers have teams of these contestants, and they want them to lose the most weight as possible. So New York Post putting that story out. No comment yet from The Biggest Loser, folks, which is on NBC. So we will see if they shoot back.
Did you read that New York Times piece about how hard it is for them to keep the weight off?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's nuts.
It's actually, so like the New York Times piece has this whole thing about how we've never really done a study on people who lose gargantuan amounts of weight, because these people come on the show that are like 450 pounds and they slim up to like 200 pounds. And they look at the biology of these people and how this all affected their bodies, and it's the first real study that took a look at that. It just shows how hard it is to keep that weight off if you lose.
They're doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it's really not a very encouraging story. And over the weekend, 3 climbers actually summited on Mount Everest, but that is not the good news, or that's good news. The bad news is they died. Altitude sickness caught 3 of these 3 climbers. Eric Arnold, Maria Stridham, and Subhash Paul all died coming down the mountain after they summited. So you've got to be careful when you come down about coming down too quickly, and they came down too quickly, and altitude sickness got the best of them. They all passed away. It is these are the first deaths on Mount Everest since 2014.
Wasn't one of them disabled, or there was a disabled?
I do not know.
That made the summit.
I do not know that.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
Isn't that a terrible story?
Yeah, the exhilaration of reaching the summit,
and then
the tragedy
not being able to
of
come
not
down.
coming. Ooh, man. All right.
Sorry.
Hey, here we go. Back to the political scene yesterday. Over the weekend. Yes, it was a moment that Donald Trump relished. He'd been waiting for. Went down to Louisville, Kentucky, to the big convention of the NRA, and to the dismay of some NRA members, the NRA officially endorsed Donald Trump for president. I mean, seriously, did you think they were going to endorse Hillary Clinton? I mean, but even endorsing Donald Trump raised some eyebrows. Donald Trump says the biggest honor of his life.
I've been a member for a long time, and my boys are members, and they're much better shooters than I am. I'll tell you, they know more about guns than any. I don't know, there might be 2 or 3 people in this room, but believe it or not many. So to get the endorsement, believe me, is a fantastic honor.
Believe me. It's a fantastic honor. Yes, Donald Trump getting endorsement. And then, so the question is, why they endorsed, and do you really trust what Donald Trump says today about anything? But on guns, this is a man who once said he totally supported longer waiting periods for background checks. And this is also a man who once said that he totally, and it's on the record, this is not just made up, that he supported a ban on assault weapons.
She talked about guns and...
But so then he still now is totally into the NRA's position, to the point where he went on Fox and Friends the next morning, Sunday morning. Now, I'm not sure this was Tucker, whoever asked him the question, Tucker Carlson or Carlton, I think the other guy's name is. But at any rate, he was asked about guns in the classroom. And here we're back now to the typical Donald Trump. You don't know exactly what he means.
She talked about guns in classrooms. I don't want to have guns in classrooms, although in some cases teachers should have guns in classrooms, frankly, because teachers are, things that are going on in our schools are unbelievable. You look at some of our schools, unbelievable what's going on.
All right, so I don't want to have guns in classrooms, except in some cases teachers should have guns in classrooms.
Man.
In other words, he does want guns in classrooms. But not all classrooms. But then who decides which classrooms? And I mean, it raises so many questions. Hillary Clinton took him on when she was down in Florida at an event for the brand new Trayvon Martin Foundation to help women, mothers who have lost their kids to gun violence.
Parents, teachers, and schools should have the right to keep guns out of classrooms, just like Donald Trump does at many of his hotels, by the way.
Yeah. In fact, Huffington Post did a study of his hotels, and the policy either is no guns, or the manager says we prefer no guns on this property. Yeah,
this is really going to be an interesting fight between the two of them.
It is. I said this on CNN yesterday. We have never had a candidate take the the pro-gun control measure as far as Hillary Clinton has.
Yeah.
And we've never had anybody take the NRA position as far, I think, as Donald Trump has, right? Yeah, so you've got the two polar opposites on this issue. I think it's going to be a big issue.
This is what we've been looking for, right? To figure out what the issues are going to be, right, between these two. Because Trump, it's hard to figure out what his position is on so many things. Yeah. This is a hard and fast stance on the gun issue from Trump. But it's going to be hard for him to back away from what he said. I know he left some wiggle room.
I was going to say, but notice he tries to have it both ways on guns in the classroom. But he ends up saying there will be some gun. He would say some guns in some classrooms.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about this. 866-55-PRESS. I'd love your take on this. First of all, I think there could be nothing more dangerous than having arming teachers with guns, putting guns in the class. Dangerous for the teachers and dangerous for the kids. A horrible, tragic story. This very weekend, of a little 5-year-old girl. Her father, a big gun nut, right? But always an apostle for gun safety. Yeah, we can have guns in the home. You just have to make sure they're safe. And you keep the gun locked up in one place, the ammunition locked up in another place. That's what he preaches. I forget the guy's name, whatever. He was well known for being for guns in the home, but safely kept in the home. He leaves his loaded pistol on the kitchen table and goes to take a shower. And his little girl picks up the gun, plays with it, and shoots. The thing goes off, and she kills herself. Man. Stupid. Just absolutely, just horrific, just to think about it. And this idiot in the shower, right? So if you have to keep the gun in the home, as a parent, The gun locked up in one place, out of the reach of your kids. The ammunition locked up in another place, out of the reach of your kids. What do the teachers do with their guns?
Good question.
If you listen to Donald Trump, it sounds like he wants them to have the guns loaded right in front of them or on them at all times.
I don't own a gun.
You cannot.
I'll never own a gun. But I do know that people who own guns say that one thing you should do is have a gun under lock and key in one location, and the ammunition for the gun under lock and key in another location.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's even the law in many states, but certainly it's what they preach, right? For gun safety in the home.
Yeah.
What if you protect your kids in your own home? You're going to allow the teacher to have a loaded gun on the desk or in a desk drawer? The teacher goes out of the classroom. Yeah, what are the chances the kid's going to run up there and grab that, and just, I mean,
stupid.
Don't even think about what could happen with that. It is just absolutely insane. There's one place, and Donald Trump says he's going to get rid of all gun-free zones. No, all schools should be gun-free zones, as well as all churches, as well as all restaurants, as well as all sports stadiums, as well as, you name it, any public place, as far as I'm concerned. So this is a real test. Is there any way you can slice this and make it acceptable? I don't see it. 866-55-PRESS. We'll talk about it right here on this Monday.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour. Talking about Donald Trump yesterday, coming out for guns in the classroom. Now, he modified it a little bit. What does it mean, right? Saying not every classroom. Okay. In fact, we ought to start right there. How do you decide which teachers get the guns and which don't? Right?
It's a valid question.
I mean, like, do you say, okay, just for high school students? Or just for unruly classes? Or teachers who have taken training and go to the, the range like once a month?
Right.
I mean, seriously, I don't know. How do you decide?
Yeah, I mean, look, if this
and
is
also,
his...
who decides?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a real question.
Like you, I don't own a gun. Well, I did when I was a kid and hunting with my dad. And everything. I had a gun, but when I went duck hunting and rabbit hunting, but
you didn't have it strapped to your side when you went to the grocery store.
I don't have a gun today. I would never buy a gun. I would never join the NRA because they don't represent gun owners. They represent gun manufacturers, and I don't give a damn about the gun manufacturers. But I'll tell you one thing. I'd respect them more if they were reasonable on some issues. If they would say, of course, we are totally for the Second Amendment, but we recognize there are some places guns don't belong, right?
Yeah.
No. For them, they got to be absolute. Let's say hello to Tom up in Boston. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hi, Bill, Jamie, Peter.
What's up, Tom?
Listen, Bill, what scares me is that we have someone like Donald Trump running for president. But what is even more frightening is that there's millions of Donald Trumps out there, people backing him and supporting him. What's going to happen to this beautiful country of ours? I'd like to know.
Yeah, with Donald Trump in charge?
With Donald Trump in charge. God forbid.
Yeah, and we got to get that. We got to get that word out to people. But in a sense, Tom, I think this like what he said yesterday about guns in the classroom is what we've got to see more of. In a sense, now we're through the primaries. In the general election, we still have to decide whether it's going to be Bernie or Hillary. But we got to start nailing Donald Trump down on these issues. And the more I think he's in a position where he has to talk about issues, the worse shape he's going to be in. Because people, I think, are going to see that this guy doesn't know beans about anything. He's not prepared to lead. He is not qualified. Hillary's right. No, he is not qualified to be president of the United States. What about guns in the classroom, folks? 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Taught him how to hit a baseball. Just like that. Say hi! How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. Taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Hey, 34 minutes after the hour, Monday, May 23rd. Hello, 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 everybody. Great to see you today. Yes, indeed. Fresh from getting the endorsement of the NRA, Donald Trump hits the phones yesterday morning, called several of the morning talk shows, and starting with Fox and Friends. I mean, he's just relentless.
I like how you say hits the phones. That's all he does.
Yeah.
Wakes up, grabs the phone, starts calling news organizations, and they just put him on without question.
Yeah. He tweets and he makes his calls, and they put him on, and we'll leave him on as long as he has anything to say. He usually has nothing to say, but as long as he keeps talking, they'll keep him on. So he's yesterday again. Jamie, let's listen to it one more time, what he says about guns in the classroom.
She talked about guns in classrooms. I don't want to have guns in classrooms, although in some cases teachers should have guns in classrooms, frankly, because teachers are, things that are going on in our schools are unbelievable. You look at some of our schools, unbelievable what's going on.
All right, so I think it's pretty clear. He doesn't want guns in classrooms, except he does want guns in classrooms.
Right.
It's pretty clear, isn't it?
He just free forms these answers. They make no sense.
That makes no sense. And it certainly makes no sense to have loaded guns in classrooms, particularly after we saw what happened with that little 5-year-old girl. After her father, the big gun safety expert, leaves his loaded gun on the kitchen table while he's taking a shower. David, up in Huntington, New York. What do you say, David?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. I listened very carefully to those comments he made on Fox and Friends. He knows what audience he's talking to when he calls into that program. These are all scared white people. And to me, when I heard him say, in some schools you have these crazy things going on, he means inner city black schools that he wants teachers to have guns, because Donald Trump is constantly dog whistling to those type of voters that listen to Fox and Friends and all these other things on Fox and conservative media.
That is an excellent point, David. Absolutely. You know that's who he was talking to, right? He didn't have to say it, did he?
No, he doesn't. And that's the thing with Donald Trump, because his entire campaign is based on scared white people.
Yeah, and who are they watching, right? Fox.
Exactly.
Yeah, watching Fox News. Excellent point. Really appreciate the call. That's what he was all about, right? Yeah. No, we don't want guns in the classrooms in our lily white suburban schools.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. But in those inner city schools, like in Chicago and in New York, yeah, that's where the teachers have to have guns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that Newtown resonated so much with this country, because it wasn't black kids that were shot down, right? Black kids get shot all the time in this country, but they were white kids. So, like, that, I mean, that's like an uncomfortable thing that a lot of people have to deal with, but, like, that is 100% where Donald Trump is coming from.
Yeah.
We're not going to let our little white kids get gunned down.
Yeah. So, in answer to our earlier question, who decides which teachers get guns and which don't? Yeah, the teachers who are teaching inner city schools.
Yeah.
Right. Bob, up in way out in Eureka, California. Hello, Bob.
Well, hey, Bill.
All right. We had a great visit to Eureka a few months
there.
ago.
You signed my hat.
Oh, great.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I remember that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
Oh, and there was a very entertaining talk you did.
Thank you.
I think, they keep bringing up the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is to make sure the government doesn't disarm the militia. The militia, in 1789, whenever they wrote that, the word police had not yet been invented in France. And militia meant patrol. It meant patroller. And the purpose of the militia was to continually patrol the highways, to hunt down ne'er-do-wells and banditos, and, of course, capture runaway slaves. It was not the military. Military is different. Militia means patrol.
You know, Bob, the history of the Second, you are absolutely right. And the wording is so clear, and the history of the Second Amendment is so clear. I mean, the interpretation that people put on it today, never intended by our founding fathers.
They say, well, everybody's a militia. Well, the thing is, the police officers are commissioned officers. We have to do what they say. They're the officers commissioned by the state.
Yeah. No, there's no, I mean, historically, there is just no justification for the wide open interpretation that the NRA and some of its members put on the Second Amendment. Sadly, Bob, the reality is that some courts have gone along with it, including this Roberts Court of the United States when Scalia was still alive, which overturned the District of Columbia's right here gun control measures, gun safety measures, on that theory that the Second Amendment gives everybody a right to own any kind of gun, anytime, anywhere, which is just not what the Second Amendment says. Hey, thanks, Bob. Excellent point, reminding us what the reality is all about. Bouncing out to Detroit. Hello, David.
Gentlemen.
Yes. What do you think?
What up, David?
David.
What's up, David?
Hey, David, are you there? Let's hear from you.
That was a quick
All right.
comment.
Thank you, David. At least he called us gentlemen.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we've been called worse than have people hang up.
We have indeed. All right. David, you must have had a problem with your phone or lost his nerve or something there. I'm sorry. But sorry we lost your call. 866-55-PRESS. Just want to touch on one other thing real quickly. At the top of the next hour, Jonathan Tassini, who is the author of the book The Essential Bernie Sanders and His Vision for America. We'll talk with him more about this. But, I got to tell you, I have, over the weekend, man, I have been deluged, the last few days, even before the weekend, with friends, particularly Clinton supporters, Democrats, who are saying, come on, Bernie has to drop out now. He's just doing nothing but hurting Hillary by staying in, which I think is just so much nonsense. Look, there are 2 more weeks to go. And I keep telling people, just relax, right? Bernie has said his number one priority will be preventing Donald Trump from getting in the White House. If Bernie's not the nominee, Bernie will support the Democratic nominee. He'll support Hillary Clinton. But right now, he has every right to stay in this thing until the last vote is cast in the District of Columbia on the 14th of June, or at least through the 7th of June and the 6 big states that come up on that day. And I got to tell you, as a Bernie Sanders supporter, I am with Bernie until June the 8th, just like I was with Hillary Clinton until June the 8th in 2008. So call me whatever you want, but you got to call me loyal. I am loyal. And let me tell you, I'm not the only one. Do you see the crowds that Bernie is getting in California? See the crowds he got in New Mexico? Huge events in New Mexico, and huge events in California.
Huge.
Because Bernie's message is resonating, and people are looking for change, and they are looking for something different, and they are looking for big ideas. And as long as Bernie is out there, they're going to support him. So, the time maybe for Bernie to get out is when he has lost the nomination. He has not lost it yet. Hillary Clinton has not won it yet. And Bernie is still winning primaries, and he is still winning delegates. So I'm sure of 2 things. So I'll end on that note. I'm sure of 2 things. Number one, that this primary is going to go all the way until June 14. And number 2, that this Democratic Party is going to be united, and it's going to be stronger than ever in the general election because of Bernie Sanders. We'll take a quick break, talk to Elias Isquith on the other side from cafe.com.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489 million, 856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go now. 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Elias Isquith standing by from Cafe.com, executive editor on the news of the day. And there is a lot of it, particularly on the political front, when the latest national poll on CNN shows Donald Trump at 46% and Hillary Clinton at 44%. Elias, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
That's a pretty scary state of affairs, isn't it? A dead heat between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump?
I mean, it's certainly not encouraging. I'm definitely paying attention to the political scientists and, kind of who are blogging in the perpetual state of, I feel like when you're a political scientist blogger, you spend most of your time yelling for everybody to calm down. So I'm paying attention to those. They're pointing out that, Hillary is still obviously in a contest, and that usually will lead to her numbers being lower, whereas Trump is on his own, and he's doing quite a good job of consolidating Republicans behind him, although I think it's pretty possible that, Republicans are going to consolidate around, a block of cheese if they need to. Go ahead.
I was going to just play devil's avocado here, right? Like everybody says, oh, well, these polls don't really matter. Donald Trump is neck and neck with Hillary Clinton. And these are the same people who said, oh, it doesn't matter that Donald Trump is leading the Republican polls. He's not going to win any primaries. And so,
I hear you. I definitely don't think they don't matter.
Right. He went up 11 points. In this poll, he went up 11 points, right?
Yeah, I think they totally do matter. I mean, it shows that this is going to probably be closer than anybody who's not buying what Trump's selling from the start is just going to be, horrified by no matter what, probably.
And the other reality is, right, that 6 out of 10 Americans say they don't like either one of them.
Yes.
And now, so we've got the two. It looks like the two most unpopular politicians ever to run for president running against each other.
Yeah, and I think in some ways it might be kind of a return to 2004. If you guys, remember what that was like. We've had Obama for the past few, and he's been a kind of different figure. It's changed the dynamic. But back in 2004 was a similar kind of thing where nobody was exactly voting for their candidate.
Yeah.
The Bush people hated Kerry. Certainly the Kerry, people just loathed Bush.
Right.
And it was just dueling toxicity to some degree. And I guess we're going to go back to that, but, 100 times worse because as bad as George W. Bush was, and he was very bad, Donald Trump is the only Donald Trump.
Right. Now, a question comes up whether or not, I think you alluded to it too, whether Donald Trump is going to be able to unite the Republican Party. You've been reporting there's some surprise softening on the part of some of his the Never Trump people, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw this. I think it was yesterday. CNN had a report about it. I think I'm a pretty skeptical, bordering on cynical guy, but I got to say, I honestly was a little surprised by this, which is that according to reports, Lindsey Graham, who was like the number one Republican probably, who spent the past year telling everybody that not just we're going to lose with Trump, but like Trump is a terrible person, he's a demagogue, he's a racist, he's going to kill the party. He said that multiple times. Well, apparently, like in private now, he's telling people, okay, time to line up behind Trump, raise money, put your ducks in order. I mean, it's just unbelievable because it's not like Lindsey Graham, has to worry too much about, Trump's support for re-election or like, sometimes you can find some kind of like specific, still cynical, but kind of understandable reason in the sense of like self-interest for the individual politician.
Right.
But I mean, it's just clear that if Lindsey Graham can make his peace with Donald Trump, then there's just nobody that Republicans won't basically say they'd rather have than any Democrat. And it's just unreal to me.
How about Jeb Bush?
You know what? That's a good point. I guess the difference is that Lindsey Graham wants to stay a Republican. He's still going to be in the Senate.
Yeah.
And maybe Jeb Bush understands that. And as far as most of his fellow Republicans care, he can go away and, anyway.
Right.
And so he seems to be he's going to accept kind of drifting into irrelevancy to his credit.
The one thing that that I have been saying all along, and I think you've just confirmed it, that this whole notion that there's going to be a whole mess of Republicans line up for Hillary, I said from the beginning, forget about it. It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah, I think you were right. I didn't think it was going to happen a lot. I thought it was going to happen a little bit more. But if we're already seeing that disappear, then gosh, I can't imagine how it'll maintain after a whole general election campaign when it's just wall to wall media telling Republicans that Hillary or Sanders are the devil incarnate.
But also maybe if Lindsey Graham's coming around, there might be a chance that Paul Ryan's going to endorse, Elias. if they have enough meetings, right? The process goes on long enough.
Yeah, I've spent most of the past few weeks deep in prayer, trying to make sure that the chasm between these two men can somehow be bridged. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been pretty obvious early on that Paul Ryan just basically wants Trump to give him some way to accept him without looking like he has been thoroughly defeated.
Right.
He's just basically looking for saving face. So, yeah, like Trump is already, because he wants to raise money, he doesn't want to actually pay for a general election campaign. He's already backtracking, as you guys have talked about, on Social Security and Medicare. And so, Paul Ryan's going to be right there, arms open.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Paul Ryan's endorsement, I don't know what that wins you anyhow. But all right. Hey, Elias, always good to catch up with you. Too bad it's only once a week, but we'll talk to you again next Monday. Thanks, Elias Isquith, executive editor, cafe.com.
your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Every day when I was 5, my older sister would play teacher. Her students were me, my stuffed rabbit, and an American Girl doll. She'd line us up at the end of the bed and teach us whatever she'd learned in school that day. Now she teaches ESL at an elementary school in Boston, and every week she tells me stories about her students. Anna does not know how to read in Spanish, much less English, but she still wants to be a writer when she grows up. Juan chooses to stay inside and study at recess so that one day he'll be able to teach his own brother. These kids are good organs in a sick body. In 2001, No Child Left Behind gutted bilingual education. Students who have been in the country for 1 year are now expected to perform at grade level on standardized English tests. My sister is not allowed to instruct them in Spanish. If the kids don't jump high enough, the school loses money. Improving a school by picking its pockets is like tuning a guitar by ripping off the strings. Learning to read in a new language before you can even read in your own is like learning to walk while a pit bull is chasing you. Like learning to sing with the conductor's fist down your throat. This year for my sister's birthday, I got books for her students. A poem on one page in Spanish, the next in English. She is not allowed to help them read the first. Their heritage is a banned book. Learning to read in a new language when you can't even read in your own is like trying to heal a burn victim by drowning them. We are telling these children who have spent their whole lives in the deep end that they'll learn how to swim if they just float out a little farther. In the 1980s, American slaughterhouses began building corrals in curves so no animals could see the blood at the end of the tracks. This is how we kept them moving forward. In 2001, we began building the hallways of our schools in curves. This is how we keep them moving forward. You never learn, you fail the test. You never learn, you fail the test. You never learn, you drop out. I know. I am lucky enough to be one of the winners of this game. I was handed a head start and a rule book in my own tongue, but the winners of a rigged game should not get to write the rules. On the television, some senator preaches that throwing money at an urban school is like feeding caviar to your dog. They just won't know how to appreciate it. After all, if these parents can't take care of their own children, why should we? Well, tell that to Anna, who has my sister translate newsletters aloud to her father because he too was never taught how to read. Tell that to Juan, whose mother and baby brother are still in Guatemala, whose father works 3 jobs. My sister tells me school is the most stable place in these kids' lives. She has been a teacher since she was smaller than they are. But since when does being a teacher mean having to swear not to help? Since when does being a teacher mean having your hands tied while the schoolhouse burns to the ground? We are leading these children along a track built in circles as their lungs fill with smoke, telling them it is their fault. They can't find a way out.
Dylan Garrity from Slam MN.
Need Bernie Sanders supporter top of the next hour.
The VP sweepstakes are officially underway, Bill, as yesterday, Mark Cuban, investor and owner of the Dallas Mavericks, threw his name in the ring and said he would, quote, absolutely consider running as vice president with Hillary Clinton. He said the only thing is she would have to go a little bit more to the center. That was yesterday on NBC's Meet the Press.
Who does he think he is? Does he really think just because I have a lot of money, I'll throw my name out there and put my hat in the ring?
He saw what happened with Trump. He will run. He will run for president at some point.
Someday.
Yeah, someday.
Okay. He won't be vice president.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Paul Ryan says Donald Trump could win, but he's not betting on it. How's that for an endorsement? Hello, everybody. What do you say? Monday, May 23rd. So good to see you today. It is the Bill Press Show. That's what you're looking for. You got it. And if you just happen to join us, stay around. You might like it. Great to see you today. Hope you had a good weekend. Ready to jump into a whole new week with a whole lot of news to talk about on many fronts. Talked about Donald Trump picking up the endorsement of the NRA. Bernie Sanders, repeating again, he is in it to stay all the way through June 14, counting on those superdelegates to see the light of day. And we now hear that from Egypt Air 804. It looks like people are saying now it might have been a mechanical problem after all that talk about terrorism. Well, we got it covered. Wherever there's news here in Washington, D.C., around the country, around the globe, we're on top of it. We'll tell you what's going on and want to hear from you what it all means to you, what you think about it. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And again, welcome to the program, whether you're listening on one of our local progressive talk radio stations nationwide or watching on Free Speech TV coast to coast. Welcome to the program. Say hello to our team, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Here we go.
Good morning.
Off and running, Ray Rogers. Ready for your calls at 866-55-PRESS and Cyprian Bolding. Got the video cam working indeed, and hopefully looking good to you on Free Speech TV. The whole continuing, I thought SNL, they've been really, really good this season.
Yeah.
Let's face it, they've had a lot of good material. But they really captured the continuing little debate about the ongoing Democratic primary Saturday night. And the scene, of course, is a bar. And Kate McKinnon as Hillary sitting at the bar. Larry David as Sanders is sitting back in a chair in the bar, but not at the bar. And it's closing time. But not everybody wants to leave.
I think I'm going to head home. Don't you work too late now.
Oh, I won't, Mrs. Clinton. I'm actually closing up the bar right now. So everybody's got to go. That means you too, sir.
No freaking way! I'm not going anywhere. I can stay here as long as I want.
Senator Sanders, I'm sorry, but the night is over.
No, it's not over. It's not over till I say it's over.
Oh, hello, Bernie. I didn't see you sitting behind me. So far behind me, you can never catch up.
It's not over until I say it's over. All right, there it is.
It's pretty good.
Hey, we're going to talk with a great Bernie supporter and author of The Essential Bernie Sanders and His Vision for America. Jonathan Tassini here at the top of the hour. Chris Van Cleve from CBS News joins us a little later with the update on Egypt Air 804. Harold Schaitberger, president of the Firefighters Union, in studio with us in the next hour. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Let's say hello to Tanish Abraham of Sacramento, California.
Hello.
He's 12 years old, and he's doing something at 12 that you didn't do when you were 12, and I didn't do when I was 12.
I don't know.
He's going to college.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, exactly. He actually got a scholarship, a Regent scholarship, to attend UC Davis. He is a very, very smart young man. At the age of 6, he told his parents, I want to take a college class. And he was not kidding. He was serious about it. So he's worked his way up to where he's been invited to go to school at UC Davis at the age of 12. He's going to study biomedical engineering and wants to get his doctorate. In fact, he said, I hope to have my MD by the time I'm 18.
Oh, get a life. have a life. Enjoy a life.
Yeah, right? This kid's rushing into adulthood awfully quickly, huh? Another day, another endorsement for Donald Trump, this time from retired professional golfer Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus came out. I know, this makes me so sad. Jack Nicklaus was my guy. But I know he is he is a pretty hardcore Republican. I just didn't think he'd fall for the Trump business. He came out and said Trump is, quote, awakening the country. I like what Donald's done. He's turning America upside down, end quote. Well, that's not wrong, I guess. That's a pretty accurate quote. But he is coming out and says that he is supporting Donald Trump. I don't love that story.
I don't either.
And while we're talking about Donald Trump, we can see more of him this week as Jimmy Kimmel announced that he's going to have Donald Trump on his show this week. Not just Donald Trump, that's going to happen on Jimmy Kimmel Live on Wednesday, but the next day, Bernie. Bernie is going to be joining Jimmy Kimmel. So, little Trump, little Bernie.
Where's Kimmel broadcast? From California? L.A. or New York?
Yeah, he's L.A.
He's L.A., okay.
I think it's the third time for both of them, by the way, on Jimmy.
Well, I just wanted to be sure that Bernie's not in New York. I want Bernie to stay in California. That's fine. I'm on. Here we go, 12 minutes now after the hour. Yes, indeed. Great little book. I picked it up to Bus Boys and Poets a month or so ago. The Essential Bernie Sanders and His Vision for America. And Jonathan Tassini, you see him all over the tube, speaking for Bernie, joins us on our newsline this morning. Jonathan, always good to talk to you. How are you?
Doing great, Bill. Great to be back on the show.
Thank you. So I wake up this morning, and I know you've been going through this. I've been going through this. Headline in the New York Times this morning, front page, fixated on campaign fight, Sanders risks lasting legacy. And then you pick up Politico, front page on the website of Politico, Bernie loses his halo. Liberals even are deserting Bernie, saying he's got to stop, he's got to get out, he's only hurting Hillary. What's gone on, Jonathan?
Oh, the elite just doesn't like to see the challenge to the anointed candidate. You know that. It's kind of like this cultural thing. They don't like to see actual contests. They don't like to see democracy happen. It's pretty pathetic, actually.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they sound like they act like a bunch of nervous Nellies, right? I mean, There's 2 more weeks to go, for God's sakes, right? You know? And by the way, I don't know, I'm sure you're the same. I keep telling people, look, I am in this as long as Bernie is, and I'm in it to the end. Just like I was there for Hillary Clinton in 2008, I'm there for Bernie Sanders in 2016.
I agree, and I have these fights all the time, sort of behind the scenes. Fights is a strong word, but debates with producers and so on. For example, my friends at CNN who continually just repeat the Clinton rhetoric and talking points that she's only 90 delegates away from clinching, and I had to actually get them to change it just before I was going on the other day, telling them that no, this is going to go all the way to the convention, because until those so-called superdelegates actually cast their votes, there is no nominee. And
right.
It's somewhat frustrating sometimes, but you have to keep pushing them because you want to actually talk the truth and the facts about what's happening in terms of actual votes.
Now, so let's just for the record, all right, make sure that people understand.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that Bernie will drop out before June 14th, before the convention?
Well, I'm not inside his head, and he doesn't call me every day. But, just looking as you listen to what he says, I think there's zero chance. And I think the reason for that is twofold. One is he admits, and we all say, it's a narrow path to win. He has to win a lot of pledged delegates, and then he does have to convince the superdelegates who have already committed to Hillary Clinton to switch their position.
Right.
But there's a larger point, which I think you and I know, but I think lots of people don't get, that there really is this political revolution happening. And the elites really don't understand it, that the Democratic Party really is, I think, going through some fundamental change. And the reason I point this out is every time you have an election, and your point about California is very important, you basically have elect delegates who will end up being the leaders of the future. So when Bernie comes with 1,700 delegates or 1,800 delegates to the convention, even if he's short of the nomination,
right,
all those people are going to go home and then become those future leaders of the political revolution. And so that's why it's important to keep fighting every single primary.
Right. Excellent point. And by the way, this article in the New York Times makes a point that Bernie's, and it quotes Howard Dean. I mean, come on, Howard Dean. We know he's a Hillary supporter, right? He's just dumping on Bernie, this fellow Vermonter. Shame on him. But he's making the point that, well, Bernie's got to be all about building the political revolution. By the way, I agree, and he will be, but after the convention, not before, right? Or if you know, so you're right. Those delegates will be the foot soldiers in this political revolution. So what do you think that Bernie wants at the convention? First of all, he wants a nomination, right? But what else does he want at the convention?
Well, I think he has a chance to win the nomination, and like you, and I certainly speak for myself, I'm in it as long as he's in it, and I want to continue to put forth the idea that he can win. As narrow it is, and he says that all the time, every time he's interviewed, it's a steep path. But at the same time, I think he wants to shape what the conversation is about the future of the Democratic Party. Now, some of that, you've been around, you've been to a lot of conventions, some of that is about the party platform, although I'm not sure there's any president who actually took out their party platform and went through and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do now because my party said so. I don't think it's necessarily worth the paper it's written on. But the conversation there, as I said, then goes past the convention. It's what you use to hit the general election with and after. And I'll point out one quick thing. Here's a very important thing, which I think will be really interesting. As someone who has fought against all these trade agreements since NAFTA, I think this is one of the most important moments to defeat this idea of so-called free trade.
Right.
Partly because Donald Trump is out there talking about how bad NAFTA was, and I hate to say it, he's absolutely right. Please strike me down as I say that. But at the convention, if we have this fight, it's not just going to be Bernie versus Hillary. It's going to be Bernie versus the President of the United States on this issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, I think the delegates of that convention, I think there's a good chance to get an anti-TPP vote or an anti-NAFTA vote in that convention.
I think you're right, and it depending, assuming that both candidates stick with their position. Hillary Clinton's flip-flop. She's been for all these bad trade agreements forever, but because of the pressure from us, from the grassroots, that started, frankly, before Bernie got into the race, she was forced, in order to win this primary, to say she was against TPP. So we have to hold the whole party to that standard. And that's why I think it's going to be quite fascinating to watch this debate, because essentially, if we take that position, we're confronting the President of the United States on this question.
Two questions then. One, do you think that there will be any discussion about superdelegates? I mean, we know where the chairperson stands on superdelegates, but we also know where Nancy Pelosi stands, who last week said she thinks superdelegates are a bad idea. And we know where Bernie stands. So do you think that in the future that there may be some either getting rid of superdelegates or making sure that they have to follow the will of the people?
Good question. I think there will be a debate. At least two states, Maine and Vermont, have now taken a position against having superdelegates. So I'm sure that's going to be pushed. And I assume what they'll do is they'll kick it down the road and say, okay, we're going to study it between this convention and 2020. And then the question is, those people who feel very passionate about that, can they keep the pressure on in the next 2 years when the 2020 election starts, rearing its head? It'll be really interesting because assuming we win the general election, then there'll be an incumbent in 2020. What will he or she's position be on that?
Do you believe that Bernie may, well, first of all, any doubt in your mind that if he is not the nominee, and you and I both want him to be the nominee, and again, we're there until the cows come home, but if he is not the nominee, do you have any doubt that he will support Hillary Clinton?
I don't have any doubt because, frankly, I don't have any doubt, and there'll be a caveat to that. I don't have any doubt in the sense that in every debate, there'll be at least 2 or 3 debates where he specifically has said, on any given day, Hillary Clinton at her worst is 1,000 times better than Donald Trump. And I think he will follow through that. I will say that the Democratic Party should be careful about the way the next, 2 months unfold, because you don't want to do things that make him feel and make his supporters feel, which is in some way more important, not just what Bernie says, but what his supporters feel is the way this movement is being treated. Bernie could say, we got to vote for Clinton, but if the supporters feel, and I think there's a lot of feeling out there right now, the feelings are raw about this, if the supporters feel that they're being disrespected, and I think that Hillary Clinton announcing that she's the nominee is so the height of arrogance, that this is the kind of thing that will fuel a feeling on the part of his supporters that they don't want to support her. So there's a little bit of a danger in that.
Mm-hmm. Why did Bernie decide to endorse the opponent of Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the Florida primary?
Well, I found that to be just fascinating. And not only did he endorse it, he sent out, a
fundraising letter, right?
Do you remember that ever happening where a major leader of a force even in a state would then step out and essentially oppose a leading figure in a primary? It was just astounding to me. I think it's twofold. One is, obviously, he has no respect for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And I wrote a column on CNN.com last week calling for her to be dumped by the president for a whole series of reasons. But I also think it's somewhat, he does believe that this is a place where he can show that the political revolution is serious about challenging Democrats who do not support our agenda.
Yeah. By the way, there is an interesting piece on Huffington Post today by Bill Moyers saying that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has to go before the convention. Bill Moyers.
I wrote that a week ago, and a bunch of I don't mean that.
Yeah.
It's great to have Bill. He's obviously a lot more famous than I am, and it's good. There have been a lot of voices for that.
Yeah.
And the reality is this: is that you got to have somebody who's up on that podium when the convention gets to its most conflicted moment and most fiery moment. There's got to be someone in the chair who people respect and think is neutral. Debbie Wasserman Schultz just has blown that. She has no credibility. And, there are many vice chairs, Donna Brazile, others, who would be perfectly acceptable as neutral figures who, in their own hearts, may support Hillary Clinton, but at least they're seen as fair people. Debbie Wasserman Schultz does not have that credibility anymore.
All right, Jonathan, we got to leave it right there. When the movement is well underway, you and I will be known for we were there in the beginning. All right.
and right to the end, Bill.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks so much for all you're doing. All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American. As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, just to put a period on that sentence from Jonathan Tassini about superdelegates, here's Bernie out in New Mexico over the weekend.
It is a bad idea because if you go that route, you may not end up with the strongest candidate to defeat somebody like a Donald Trump.
That Bernie, of course, talking about the idea that the superdelegates, the party elite, could decide the nominee even if somebody else had won a majority of pledged delegates in the primaries, leading to, I think, what we're going to see is a big movement to have superdelegates. They can continue to have an honorary seat at the convention, but they must vote according to the will of the people of their state. And that, my friends, is called democracy.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains into the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Here we go now at 34 minutes after the hour. What's the latest word on Egyptian Air 804? We will find out from Chris Van Cleve, the transportation reporter for CBS News in the next segment. So right now, I mean, I thought this was kind of strange that over the weekend, at one time I looked up and all three cable networks were running footage of Donald Trump receiving the endorsement of the NRA down in Louisville, and people were making like a big deal of this. I mean, like, did they really expect the NRA to endorse Hillary Clinton? Right. I mean, was there any question where they were going to go? They endorsed Donald Trump, even though Trump in the past has taken some very un-NRA-like positions. He has publicly supported longer delays for background checks, which is a good move, was at the time. He has also supported renewal of the ban on assault weapons, which of course expired in 1994, and George Bush in 2004, and George Bush never renewed it. And that was a good position for Donald Trump at the time. Now he's totally flip-flop on those issues. He has totally embraced the NRA's agenda, which is zero restrictions on any guns, anywhere, anytime, zero gun safety measures, to the point that he's even embraced the NRA's position about having guns in the classroom. Now, so first of all, here's Donald Trump down in Louisville saying what an honor it is to get this endorsement.
I've been a member for a long time, and my boys are members, and they're much better shooters than I am. I'll tell you, they know more about guns than any. I don't know, there might be 2 or 3 people in this room, but believe it or not many. So to get the endorsement, believe me, is a fantastic honor.
Believe me, right? It's a fantastic honor, right?
It's almost too easy to mimic Donald Trump. I mean, he never changes course, right? Like some people, when they get tired or like they change. I mean, it's the same thing.
I know. Even when he pretends to be John Miller, he talks the same way.
That's right.
So then Donald Trump, he leaves Louisville, gets back to New York. The next morning he wakes up, and what's the first thing he does? Just like all of us do. You pick up the phone and you call the morning shows, which you're watching while you're sitting in bed. You call the morning shows, and they put you right on the air for 10 or 15 minutes, right? Everybody does that, right? Every candidate can get away with that. Oh, yeah. No, only Donald Trump, I'm telling you. The media, he won the primary because of all the free media, and now the free media want him to win the general. They're going to give him as much time as he wants, free. So he calls Fox and Friends Sunday morning, and he's asked about Hillary's comments that he would be for putting guns in classrooms. But Donald Trump makes it very, very clear where he stands on that issue, guns in classrooms. Listen carefully.
She talked about guns in classrooms. I don't want to have guns in classrooms, although in some cases teachers should have guns in classrooms, frankly, because teachers are, things that are going on in our schools are unbelievable. You look at some of our schools, unbelievable what's going on.
Oh, I got it. Okay, I got it. So, Jamie, I want to hear just the first part of that again, just the very first part.
She talked about guns in classrooms. I don't want to have guns in classrooms, although in some cases teachers should have guns in classrooms.
Boom.
Oh.
So in other words, I'm against guns in classrooms except when I'm for it. Right. Yeah, it's just bizarre, right? Why? How can he defend this? And how can he say, but let's be clear. You know what he's saying? He's saying, I don't want guns in classrooms. We don't need guns in classrooms where there are white students. We need guns in classrooms where there are black students.
Yeah.
We need guns in classrooms in inner city schools where there may be Latino and black students, right? That's a dog whistle statement. You know it as well as I do. And it's just so fraught with danger. Peter, we were talking earlier about this little 5-year-old girl.
Yeah,
that story.
in Texas, there's a well-known
This weekend.
Yeah, this past weekend, a well-known gun nut who talks about gun safety and the right to have guns. He went to go take a shower and left a loaded gun on his kitchen table, which his 5-year-old daughter found and fatally shot herself.
Picked it up, played with it, and fatally shot herself.
Yeah.
And this nuts in the shower. And he's the gun safety expert of the NRA in Texas, or one of them, most outspoken, right? So just think about that access to guns, loaded guns, which Donald Trump wants in America's classrooms. How the hell are we going to protect our children? And if the teacher doesn't have the gun right handy, what good is it if somebody walks in the classroom with a gun? But on the other hand, if the teacher's got the gun on her person, his person, on the desk, in the desk drawer, I mean, think about that. Easy access for children to a loaded gun. We know what's going to happen. It's just insane.
One of the things that's so striking to me about this whole way that Donald Trump addressed this, John Kerry lost an election because he was painted as a flip-flopper, a waffler, right? Because he said he was for the war before he was against it. Because he evolved over a matter of time. Donald Trump changes his position mid-sentence.
Right.
Like, it took Kerry, if you listen to Kerry explain why he changed his mind about the war, it's a thoughtful response, okay? Donald Trump changes his mind literally in the middle of an interview.
Or maybe did.
Exactly. Or maybe did. We don't know.
We don't really
have
know.
no idea.
No.
That's right.
Again, he used to be for the assault weapons ban. Now he's not. Right. Used to be for the delay in the waiting in the waiting period, a longer waiting period for the background check. Now he's not. And in one sentence, he's against guns in classrooms, but he's also for them.
Yeah.
Just depends on which
who he's talking to, what day it is, what he's remembered. It's no trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and it just so happened that Hillary Clinton, the same day, was at talk about a clash in the kind of events. Donald Trump is at an NRA convention. Hillary Clinton was at the first meeting, one of the first meetings of the Trayvon Martin Foundation down in Florida, to raise money for mothers who have lost children to gun violence. And she talks about this idea of guns in the classroom.
Parents, teachers, and schools should have the right to keep guns out of classrooms, just like Donald Trump does at many of his hotels, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Huffington Post did a little survey of Mar-a-Lago and all the Trump properties, right? Several of them have a policy. No guns allowed. Don't want the guns in the casino, don't want guns on the golf course, whatever. Some of the others have, the manager has just said, we prefer that you do not bring a gun to our property. Yeah. So, again, where does he stand on this issue?
Craig Topfer, our friend who watches the show on Free Speech TV, emailed in and said, "Oh, the irony that two of the last gun-free zones in America are the GOP convention and the NRA convention."
Yeah.
Go figure.
All right. Thank you, Craig. Good to hear from you. Here we go. So Chris Van Cleve from CBS News joining us in the next segment. Take a quick break. Right back and learn the latest on Egyptian Air 804.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood.
Oak Creek.
Newtown.
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 How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now.
As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour now, coming to you live coast to coast from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Search still underway in the Mediterranean for any debris from Egyptian Air 804, and also a search for those black boxes buried deep in the Mediterranean, but they could tell us exactly what happened. In the meantime, we wanted to check in on the latest. Joined by a transportation correspondent for CBS News. You see him almost every night in the news with Scott Pelley. Chris Van Cleve. Hi, Chris. Good morning.
Bill, good morning. How are you?
What is the latest that we know of Egypt Air, and what does it look like happened?
Well, the Egyptian military is now using a sub to try to get the exact location of where these black boxes are. They had detected, we understand, some pinging from the black boxes, which give them a general area where they think they are in the Mediterranean Sea. But now the effort is underway to try to pinpoint exactly where they are and recover them, because that's going to be really key to determining what happened in the moments leading up to this crash.
There are reports now that there was smoke inside the cabin. How do we know that, and what does that tell us?
So while the plane is flying, it is communicating with the ground. It's sending signals back and forth between
all the time,
essentially all the time.
Automatic?
Right, they're automatic signals. We saw this with Air France 447 as well, where the plane was communicating automatically and right up until the crash. And here there are some signals that indicate there was smoke in parts of the airplane. Now, that could mean there was a fire. That could also mean there was what's called an explosive depressurization. That could also trigger those sort of alarms. It appears whatever happened very quickly and was clearly catastrophic.
So I saw a couple of experts, and by the way, there are more aviation experts that pop up when something like this happens than you would think exist, right? Yeah. I don't know where they all come from, but I saw a couple over the weekend who said they were ready to say now that this was more likely mechanical failure than terrorism. Is that the general consensus, or what's that based on?
I think it's too hard to say at this point. It's one thing if you're a pundit and you're there to speculate. I think the reality is everything has to stay on the table until you get some solid information. Now, what they're going to look at as they start to recover some of this wreckage is you can look for residue, explosive residue on the wreckage, but you really want to find those black boxes because that's going to give you a much better sense. If it's a explosion from something like a bomb, when you look at the sound waves of the airplane, that kind of explosion is going to have a specific pattern that's going to be different than if there was a mechanical, say, metal fatigue problem.
But I guess...
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
I was going to say, I guess we have moved, or have we moved from where we were toward the end of last week is absolutely an act of terrorism to it could be either terrorism or mechanical failure. Is that what...
Yeah, I think that we have, airplanes generally do not, well-maintained airplanes don't fall out of the sky.
Right.
Something like maybe 10% of accidents, fatal accidents in aviation occur at cruising altitude. So it's a very small number. It can happen. Given the world we live in, it doesn't surprise me that people, particularly with a security background, went immediately to terrorism until proven elsewhere, otherwise. Right. But that's not new. I mean, TWA 800, think back to 2000. Everyone thought that was a bomb for the longest time, including the FBI. So I don't think it's necessarily incorrect to start with the worst-case scenario and work back. If nothing else, because if it does turn out to be terrorism, you want to be looking at that, and you want to be looking at the vulnerabilities at Charles de Gaulle or wherever else this plane was before it got there right away, so that it doesn't happen again. That said, as we get more information, and if it does begin to look mechanical, you also need to quickly move in that direction, because if there is an issue, say, with the A320 airframe as they age, that needs to get addressed, because there's 6,700 of those flying around right now.
On the idea that this plane came from Paris, Paris obviously has had its fair share of terrorism activity. What are the precautions that are being taken now, right, in terms of transportation there in Paris?
Well, you've seen a ratcheting up of security at airports across Europe, certainly after the Brussels attacks and the Paris attacks. Flights that are bound for the U.S. are subject to a higher level of scrutiny than a lot of other flights, and those requirements are dictated by the TSA for airports that have sort of last stop service to the U.S. So we've seen inbound U.S. flights are getting a lot more scrutiny in that. The European airports have increased their measures as well in light of the attacks, not only in Europe, but also keep in mind you had a Metrojet, that Russian airliner that appears to have been bombed in Egypt, and you had a Somalian airliner bombed.
Chris, the other thing that this has highlighted, which I hadn't thought much about, is, and I think I heard Congressman Peter King say this yesterday, that there could be a greater risk for air safety from people who work at the airport than passengers boarding the planes. In terms of easier, if you're we're back to now the possibility of terrorism, of getting a bomb on a plane, that more likely it'd be easier for somebody who works at the airport to do that than a passenger carrying one on board. That really adds a new dimension to this.
Yeah, that is a real concern of the TSA. I spoke with Peter Neffinger, who's the administrator of the TSA, about this on a couple of occasions. And certainly domestically, what they have been doing is increasing how frequently they vet the people that have passes and let them work in the secured area. The TSA has also begun secondary and random checks of luggage and cargo before it gets loaded onto the aircraft. So it might get screened once, typically, and then before the cargo gets loaded on the plane, it may get screened again. But yeah, there is some legitimate concern, particularly when we talk globally, about the people who are able to circumvent security. Yeah. If you can, use your pass and walk around the checkpoint, it sort of undermines the point of having the checkpoint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Still more questions than answers about what happened to Egypt Air 804. But Chris, you shed a lot of light on it for us this morning. Thank you for your time, and thanks for your good work.
Sure thing, anytime.
All right, Chris Van Cleve, transportation correspondent for CBS Nightly News with Scott Pelley.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Coming up, and we got a great big hour number 3 today on this Monday, May 23rd. So you'll catch us at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 Central, 2 Pacific on Free Speech TV, but right away on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TawkrTV. Harold Schaitberger, the dynamic president of the Firefighters Union, will be here in studio for his first visit to the Bill Press Show, and Emma Roller, the op-ed writer for the New York Times, columnist for the New York Times, will be here in studio as well. Big hour number 3 coming up. Don't miss it. Emma Roller, opinion writer for the New York Times, coming up in the next top of the next hour. And then we'll be joined by Harold Schaitberger, who's president of the Firefighters Union. President Obama in Vietnam with a busy day of activities. He's got holding a news conference. He's got 3 or 4 bilateral meetings with the president, with the prime minister, with the head of the Communist Party, a big luncheon, and a news conference, all in Vietnam. President's going to be there for 2 or 3 days. A very important visit to Asia, and we'll keep you on top of any new developments.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Your TV and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here's the scariest thought for the day. Latest national poll shows Donald Trump at 46 and Hillary Clinton at 44. What the hell's wrong with you, America? Hey, good morning. On that note, we begin a new week here at a new round of the Bill Press Show. Starting on Monday, May 23rd, we are here in our nation's capital and happy to join you wherever you are in this great land of ours. We're there alongside of you on the radio, your local progressive talk radio station, and on Free Speech TV. And whether you're listening or watching, it's good to have you with us as we wind up our third hour together today with Emma Roller from the New York Times, and then Harold Schaitberger, president of the Firefighters Union, in studio as well, with lots to talk about. So we look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn, Jamie Benson. Hello, guys.
Hi, Bill.
Hey there. All right.
Happy Monday.
That's it. Yep. Good weekend, I hope.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we stayed inside the house all day because it was pouring down raining around the clock.
Well, we live in Portland, Oregon, so
apparently
it never stops raining.
Yeah.
Hasn't for the last 3 weeks.
God.
Ray Rogers, ready for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Cyprian Bolding, lights, camera, action, our videographer on the spot, and the aforementioned Emma Roller, opinion writer for the New York Times, contributing op-ed writer. I see your exact title for the New York Times. How are you?
I don't care what title you give me as long as I'm here. I'm happy.
I know. We're happy that you're here too as well. And the Democratic primary, it's not over yet. Some people are trying to say it's got to stop. This is the end of it. This is the end of it. As Saturday Night Live, SNL did on Saturday. It's a perfect just way of kind of I think portraying this. It's the bar. The bar's about to close. Sitting at the bar is Hillary Clinton, Kate McClintock, and sitting in a big armchair is Senator Sanders, Larry David.
I think I'm gonna head home. Don't you work too late now.
Oh, I won't, Mrs. Clinton. I'm actually closing up the bar right now, so everybody's got to go. That means you too, sir.
No freaking way! I can stay here as long as I want.
Senator Sanders, I'm sorry, but the night is over.
No, it's not over. It's not over till I say it's over.
Oh, hello, Bernie. I didn't see you sitting behind me. So far behind me, you can never catch up.
That was a great skit. Oh, they got that down. The two of them are so good. It's going to be...
They're really great.
Larry David is just perfection.
It really is. It's like, it's the best, maybe the best thing SNL has ever done. It's so perfect.
So Emma Roller and Harold Schaitberger, president of the International Association of Firefighters, coming on a little bit later. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. President Obama is in Vietnam, at least to begin this week, and he's going to be talking a lot about business. And so it turns out one of the things he announced is that the U.S. is lifting an embargo on lethal arms sales to Vietnam. Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? Turns out Vietnam and the United States have a pretty profitable business relationship with about $45 billion a year. But up until today, arms sales has been prohibited. So President Obama says he's lifting that. We're going to start selling arms to Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing business with Vietnam, but I wasn't happy to see that announcement. I
didn't love that.
We are. Here's a column for you, Emma. You ought to do
All
that
right.
column.
There you go.
I mean, we are the arms merchant for the world, I think. The United States, I believe, sells more military equipment to more countries than anybody else. And
I believe it.
yeah, so I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, I don't love it. A new story from 24/7 Wall Street, it's a website. They compiled data from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and they asked people, how much do you drink? Right? Found out who are binge drinkers, and now this is just going on the data that people gave them. So I'm happy to report, and I saved this story for you. Number 1, Appleton, Wisconsin. Number 2, Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Number 3, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Number 4, Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
the top 4 in the
top
country?
4 are all in Wisconsin.
Of binge drinking.
Binge drinking. Binge drinkers.
Wow.
Emma,
explain.
By the way,
It's not all my fault, Bill.
by the way,
Madison.
number 5 is Fargo, North Dakota. Number 6 is La Crosse, Wisconsin. Number 7 is Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Number 8 is Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Joking aside, it's a real health problem.
No, I
in
get that.
Wisconsin.
I get that now. I mean, that's certainly
Yeah,
this
but why
certainly.
Wisconsin?
It's just part of the culture there. I don't know. People talk about the German immigrants coming in, and there's all the beer factories in Milwaukee. It's just part of the culture, which isn't a really fair excuse, but that's how it is growing up.
Wow. Well, on my recent visit to Madison, I sampled the cheese curds thanks to you and Adam
Oh.
Wallner. Yes, indeed.
Were they fried?
They were deep fried, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how else would you eat them?
Right. No, they were good.
That's the way to eat them.
Yeah.
Our friends from 92.1 The Mic, the first thing they did is they took me up to this pub, and the cheese curds, they come flying out, man.
Little ranch dressing? Did you get a little ranch dressing?
A little ranch dressing with it, yeah.
Oh, so you've had them.
Oh, I have had them. Yeah.
Okay.
And while we're talking Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, there is a frozen custard shop called Leon's Frozen Custard. Do you know of Leon's?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, their owner, a man by the name of Ron Schneider, says that he is instituting a new policy at Leon's Frozen Custard. You must speak English to eat their frozen custard. He says that he's not racist, he says, but he says any foreign language that you speak here is going to be a problem. What I'm trying to avoid is when people come up here and get waited on in different languages, and so he's trying to make things move faster, according to him. Ron Schneider.
Peter, he's got a black friend. So
yeah, that's right.
He's fine.
One of his best friends is a black guy, so clearly this could not be racist.
If you're looking for alternatives, Kopp's Custard in Milwaukee is excellent and have the best burgers I've ever had.
I was
and
hoping you would have a replacement.
are maybe a little less problematic.
Kopp's? That's what it's called?
Yeah, K-O-P-P.
K-O-P-P. So if you're in the area, you don't have to go to Leon's, you can go to Kopp's.
All right, you got it. Thank you, Cheeseheads.
You got it.
Both of you. I don't know, all this news
Honorary
about Wisconsin. So, Emma, your piece the other day, can Hillary Clinton, Goldwater girl, win over Republicans?
Yeah.
You really think that she, I mean, even now we heard this morning that Lindsey Graham is starting to tell people it's okay if you support Donald Trump.
Sure.
So,
and that's why I think it's a little bit of a stretch to assume that Hillary Clinton's campaign will be able to win over a huge swath of anti-Trump Republicans, because if anything, we're seeing the Trump train sort of dragging the caboose of the Republican Party into, the ravine or what have you along with it. Even Lindsey Graham, who has, called Donald Trump every name in the book, said at a fundraiser over the weekend that, encourage his colleagues to vote for Trump when the time comes to it. And I think in the piece I note that 84% of Republicans still have this negative opinion of Hillary Clinton, and obviously her general unfavorables are still underwater as well. But the question that I want to...
Well, is there any name Republican who has said, I'm for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump?
Mm-hmm. There have been a few. There's been Max Boot, who is a big foreign policy hawk.
Right.
it's hard to name them. Actually, P.J. O'Rourke is a conservative humorist, but he wrote something in the Daily Beast, sort of satirically endorsing Hillary Clinton, saying she's the lesser of two evils, which is sort of, what Bernie Sanders said on Sunday.
Weekend, right? Yeah, but I haven't seen any senators or members of Congress or
even the most. I talked to Stuart Stevens in this piece, who was senior aide to Mitt Romney's campaign in 2012, and he and Rick Wilson are probably the two biggest anti-Trump Republicans in the sort of consultant class of the Republican Party. And even Stu Stevens told me he's not there yet in terms of being able to pull the lever for Hillary Clinton.
Because it seems that most Republicans would vote for, I don't know, a sponge or something, anything over rather than vote
right
for
in
Hillary.
the ghost of Ronald Reagan or what have you.
Yeah, right, rather than vote for Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you make, having followed this and for several months now, what do you make of this latest poll, CNN reporting, that it's basically a dead heat right now between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton? This guy that all Democrats, I think, felt would be so easy to beat.
Sure.
And he's 46 and Hillary's at 44.
Yeah, well,
what does it tell us?
Yeah, I always hesitate to put too much emphasis on a single poll, but it is pretty astonishing, I would say, and just goes to show how much the Clinton campaign has underestimated her opponents on both sides. And I think, to their credit, I think everyone underestimated how well Donald Trump would do. I think I certainly did, and I think more pundits need to maybe take accountability for dismissing Trump from the very beginning.
Can I just point out? I just want to point out, because I was hosting when Emma was in September, and I said Trump's going to be the nominee.
We need to pull up that clip.
I'm telling you, I said Trump will be the nominee. I just
just pat yourself on the back. All right.
Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing. I never said that. I'll fess up. I thought it was going to be Jeb Bush in the end.
I don't think there's any shame in that either, because it's just defied all, these preconceived notions we have about how the electoral process in America works.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other part of this poll is that, before I get there, Trump, Hillary. Trump 46, Hillary 44.
Sure.
Bernie has a 13-point advantage over Donald Trump in the latest in that latest poll. So, do you think Bernie would be a stronger candidate against Donald Trump?
Well, I think the numbers like that certainly give Bernie, solid footing to say, I'm going to stay in the race until the bitter end, until the convention. Try to, get 50% of the pledge delegates is sort of the new goal that he's been saying. And hopefully from there, he thinks he'll be able to woo over some super delegates. Obviously, it still looks unlikely for him. But again, numbers like that are allowing him to stay in the race.
Right. So on the favorability, same argument, basically. Do you like or don't like, right, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump? Each of them are at 57% unfavorable. Bernie happens to be 41% unfavorable. So 6 out of 10 Americans basically don't like either candidate. Right. That is stunning. And what does that mean for the kind of campaign we're going to see?
Yeah. And I think I got at this in the piece as well, that these are going to be, assuming that Hillary Clinton is the Democratic nominee and Trump is the Republican nominee, these will be the two least well-liked general election candidates since, I think, at least the early 90s, maybe earlier. And it's just going to be, a slugfest, unlike other general elections we've seen, I think. And Donald Trump has already redefined, the normal, political attack that is acceptable in political discourse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's going to be look, you may not like me, but you hate him more, right? And you may not like me, but you hate her more.
It's going to be a lot of arguments like that, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Not going to be pretty. Donald Trump getting the endorsement of the NRA. Does that broaden his base or just sort of kind of reinforce his base?
To me, it seems like sort of a cherry on top for him securing the nomination. I don't think there are going to be many NRA members who are extremely anti-Trump who, for them, this is going to change their minds. But at the same time, for NRA members who support Trump, this is probably a great way to, secure their brand loyalty or membership loyalty with the NRA. The funny thing is that Donald Trump supported an assault weapons ban.
Right.
I think 10 or 15 years ago. He also supported longer wait periods to secure a gun. And of course, now he's completely backpedaled on all of that. So as much as Donald Trump will like to say he's not like other politicians, he will flip-flop and backpedal with the best of them.
Right. And of course,
at a breakneck rate of speed, too.
Yeah,
right?
And
sometimes in the same interview.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. John Kerry, aside from the Swift boat stuff, right? One of the big reasons he lost is because he was a waffler, right? He was for the war before he was against it. And if you heard him talk about it, he talked about how his views changed and evolved. Barack Obama evolved on gay marriage, right? And it's okay. You can do that now. But at the rate at which Donald Trump evolves on issues, it's in the same sentence sometimes.
One other thing we've learned about Donald Trump, or maybe beginning to learn about what about Donald Trump's ties to the mob? Oh, my God. Emma Roller here with us. We're looking at the 2016 landscape from every angle. We'll be right back. You're welcome to join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is the story of my grandfather. When I was 19 years old, his right hand was crushed in a printing press. He was supposed to lose the hand, but a young doctor saved it just in time for the war. This is the story of the war. My grandfather repaired tanks. Behind the front lines, away from the cameras, he would pull pieces of dead men from the machines and send the machines back out to the field. This is the story of the war a decade later. Back then, you didn't talk about depression. There was no such thing as PTSD. When my uncle, age 7, asked him who won the war, my grandfather said, nobody. This is the story of my grandfather, the machinist. I have a newspaper from 1981, a story about the Nobel Prize for Physics, a photograph of the winner, a Harvard man standing by his machines. This man is not my grandfather. Beneath the photo, my grandfather has written, I designed and built almost everything in this picture. They worked together for 10 years, but my grandmother says the physicist never even remembered his name. If you asked that Harvard man, there would be no story of my grandfather, just a pair of disembodied hands. This is the problem with stories. They have to leave something out. The editor cuts a line and someone's face fades. The editor says 200 words or less and suddenly a whole family goes missing. The spotlight isn't about the light. It's how it makes everything around it dark. My grandfather's face is erased from every story. The machines survive, but the man who made them doesn't. The machines make the photo, but their maker is out of frame. But we choose where to point the camera. We can choose how to tell the story. We can choose which clothing the hero wears. I could tell you this is a story about a soldier, or I could tell you this is a story about the blue-collar man, but really, this is just the story of my grandfather. I did not know him. I was born too late, but my family tells me his name. Alfred Franzosa. I know that name might only live in this moment, that there are other stories with greater stakes, but still, I will tell you his name. I will repair this old machine. I will let my grandfather live again because I could not know him while he was living. Once, when he was younger than I am now, his right hand was crushed by a printing press, crushed by other people's stories. When it healed, he began to build. He used his hands to build tanks and his hands to build cradles. His hands were the last thing to touch dead soldiers and the first to touch his newborn sons. He built a good family, and that family built me, and now I use my hands to build his story. The story is not a eulogy. A eulogy seals the casket. A eulogy lets no air out. This story is a resurrection. Jesus was not resurrected by God. He was brought back by the people who told his stories. It does not take a miracle to raise the dead, to leave behind the tombstone and take the name with you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go at 26 minutes after the hour. President Harold Schaitberger, General President of the International Association of Firefighters, in studio with us in the next half hour. Right now we're visiting with Emma Roller, op-ed writer for the New York Times, looking at Donald Trump, Politico, with this headline this morning about what's up with Donald Trump's ties to the mafia. Among other things they say in their story, just read one sentence: no other candidate for the White House this year has anything close to Trump's record of repeated social and business dealings with mobsters, swindlers, and other crooks.
What a line.
What a line. Yeah, right. What do we know about this?
Well, call me cynical, but I feel like if you're in New York real estate development for 30 years, you're going to encounter some besuited gentlemen at some point and have to do business with them. And that's not to discount this story. It's a pretty, and there's been, I think there was also a story in Business Insider or Yahoo talking about his connection to a mobster named Joey No Socks, which is just a fantastic name.
I love that, Joey No Socks, yeah.
But
Shout out.
As we've seen, this is astonishing, but there have been so many astonishing stories about Donald Trump that have made zero impact.
But I think it shows that stories about his business experience and his business dealings are really ripe for investigative reporting.
Sure, and the
and op-ed research, or not op-ed, but op research. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I love the Bill Press assignment desk here. But the thing with his taxes is just the latest example.
Right. So I had a conversation last night with a couple of businessmen from New York. They're lawyers, and they said, yes, of course, over the years they've done business with Donald Trump. He has a reputation for being the worst possible person to have to do business with, because he's very demanding, very assertive, very pushy, and then doesn't follow through. And they said he's famous for not making his last payment.
Oh, wow.
So anybody who has a contract with him always builds up more money up front because
loads
they know they're going to get cheated at the end.
Isn't that funny?
Oh, man. Emma, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I'm back with the president of the firefighters, Harold Schaitberger.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine.
Virginia Tech.
Tucson.
Aurora.
Fort Hood. Oak Creek. Newtown.
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 How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we are, 33 minutes after the hour now on this Monday, May 23rd. It is The Bill Press Show. Good to see you today. And thank you for joining us. We're there with you coast to coast on your local radio station. Also on those two great radio apps, either TuneIn or iHeartRadio. They're free. Download them, and you can take us on the radio with you wherever you go. We're also here with you on Free Speech TV nationwide. Coming to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., where we're brought to you today by the International Association of Firefighters. First people we call on depend on them to keep us safe, and you can find out more about their great work, all the causes that they're fighting for today at their website, IAFF.org, or better yet, you could just ask the boss, international president of the general president of the International Association of Firefighters. I finally got it right. Harold Schaitberger, good friend, and nice to see you, Mr. President.
Bill, it's great to be here.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, listen, I've been looking forward to it.
What are these overtime rules that the President Obama announced last week?
Well, I think it's going to be an incredible, benefit to millions of workers. It's going to provide workers who have been identified as somehow possibly management when really they're line workers that have some minimal responsibilities for simply the purpose of preventing them from receiving overtime.
Yeah.
And so simply put, doubling the annual amount to test whether or not you are, in the first step, a manager or not, is going to benefit again, probably 4 to 6 million workers, and provide them overtime that they're entitled to, including a number of firefighters. We have a lot we have a lot of fire lieutenants and captains, and oftentimes in the southeastern geographical portion of the country, who fall under this current and new threshold. And they're really line officers. They're fighting fires. They're inside the buildings. They're crawling down the hallways. They're doing everything as part of the crew. but they get tagged potentially with being management in the past if they earned over $23,000.
Yeah, which is nothing.
Which
right,
is
these
well,
days.
it's not
Yeah.
only nothing. The whole point is not providing overtime to true workers who are entitled to
No,
overtime.
I thought it was a great move, and it's like a pay raise, as you say, to 4, 6, whatever, however million American workers all at one time.
All at one time.
And of course, something the president could never get through Congress, right?
Well, another
not this Congress.
Another example of this Congress being more than difficult and prepared to say no a lot more than a yes.
Well, you know, like almost any American boy, I am a big fan and always have been of firefighters. I mean, I really do. I just feel good anytime I see a fire truck pass because I know that they're on the job, you know, protecting us. But it's a job that maybe a lot of people don't recognize. There are a lot of it's a dangerous job.
Well,
isn't it?
it's not only that it's dangerous. Firefighting now is really an all hazards job. The men and women that do this incredible work, these are highly skilled, highly trained individuals that not just fight fire. The majority of them are also emergency medical, paramedic trained. They're providing emergency medical services, but they do all sorts of high-angle rescue, swift water rescue, collapse rescue, response to all the national disasters, be it Katrina or Rita or the wildfires right now. I'll be going to Fort McMurray, Canada next week. Joplin, Missouri with the tornadoes. Car extrication, accidents. I mean, they are a very highly skilled group of professionals.
And exposed to a lot of hazards today that never existed before.
Well,
right?
even though the equipment has certainly improved, that's one of the things our union's focused on, good self-contained breathing apparatus, good turnouts as we describe them. The fact of the matter is today's environment includes so many plastics, synthetics, and chemicals that really create a toxic stew. And the members of the IFF, those that are on the line every day, they're entering into those environments. That's their job. And no matter how well you try to protect them, we know we get exposures through their wrist, we get exposures through their neck. And then even afterwards, when they take their self-contained breathing apparatus off, they're still breathing in the residue of this toxic stew. And it takes its toll over time.
One of the places that we saw that most dramatically was World Trade Center, September 11. Whatever happened to that legislation that would provide, you know, the money to these victims of that and their families?
Well, that's where I would say that in a Congress, and I guess if I may, a Congress that I think it's fair to say has been known as in total gridlock. Unable to come to an agreement on anything meaningful.
Classic do nothing Congress.
Do nothing has been another word. Say no. More filibusters in the last 3 years and probably the previous 30. The point being that in that very partisan environment, we were able, along with a very strong coalition, to move the Zadroga Act, which last December, which provides the health benefits and the compensation for the thousands and thousands of workers, not just firefighters, because we're talking about workers who were there in the days following the collapse and rescue, the weeks in recovery, and the months in cleanup.
Yeah.
And now these thousands of workers are afforded the benefits and the compensation they're entitled to for their life, and we were able to get a very difficult Congress to approve that.
It took a long time, didn't it?
It did. It did. And it took the ability to work both sides of that political aisle that our union always focuses on.
Right. I saw recently that you and some of the leaders of your union had a news conference talking about cancer risk, which are, I guess, related, flowing out of some of these chemicals and what do you call it, the toxic
stew.
Toxic stew that they're exposed to.
Well, we have the Congress now that's introduced in the House and Senate the Cancer Registry Act, and that is going to be to build the database. We already know by science, we know by actual experience, that firefighters are incurring cancer at an extremely high rate, 6 to 8 times higher than the normal population.
Really? Yeah.
And in order to advance the protection for those members, with the retirement and disability benefits that they're entitled to, you have to create the science. And we've been able to really advance the science to prove these connections. But with this federal cancer registry, we're going to be able to now to accumulate the data on these exposure reports to be able to clearly show over time the direct connection between exposure to this environment and the experience, unfortunately, of a number of cancers that are very high in our membership.
So it's there, really, right? It's got to be environmental.
We really do have studies. We really do have NIOSH studies. There are studies that have shown a direct correlation between firefighting, the exposures they incur, and the cancers, unfortunately, that are experienced. You mentioned, 9/11 and the horrific experience on September 11, 2001. We talk about the 343 FDNY members who really sacrificed themselves that day in response to that. But it's the 343 of our members, yes.
Jeez.
But it's the hundreds since then that have experienced their own debilitating and in over 100 cases, death from the disease and cancers and respiratory that they've incurred from that exposure over time.
Right. So this legislation will enable you to really
it'll allow us to bring the data to really show empirical data that this is a causation, and therefore those workers should be covered by their workers' comp, by their health care plans, by their disability plans.
I was just thinking while you were talking, I remember, again, as a kid, I've just always been fascinated by firefighters and fire trucks. But I had a book, I think my dad gave me this book for Christmas, called The Romance of Firefighting. I think of it now, with hearing you talk about it, romance may not be the right word,
Well, I
right?
don't know that if I use romance, but we are a very unique culture. And it's a culture not unlike the incredible men and women that wear the uniform of our country. It's a culture that you have to take into context. It's not only the work that they do, and they do very dangerous work, and they are willing to put themselves on the front line.
Every day, yeah.
But it's also a culture that is family. We talk about our co-workers not as co-workers or colleagues. It's a family because you work as a crew together. You're eating your meals together. You're sleeping up in the dorms together. You're riding those rigs to a call together. And when you are in an active fire environment, you have each other's back. Your lives are in each other's hands. It's a very close bond. And that bond creates I guess, a view and a reputation of these extraordinary workers that do extraordinary things. And there is a recognition of that in the general population.
And I bet that team spirit, right, is built in every fire hall, every firehouse.
Yeah, and I guess at the risk of being repetitive, it's not just team, it is family.
Yeah.
This is truly your brothers and sisters. And every aspect of what you do is in the context of that cultural and close connection, which is also the reason that, very frankly, it gives us the kind of influence and capability in the political arena in which we engage in at pretty significant levels.
Well, it's good that you can get things done because not many people are able to get things done these days with this Congress. President Harold Schaitberger, president of the International Association of Firefighters, here in studio with us. I'm sure he'd be glad to take any questions or comments you have about the challenge of firefighting. I don't want to use romance again. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number. We'll be right back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. he might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 12 minutes before the top of the hour here in studio with us, President Harold Schaitberger, General President of the International Association of Firefighters. Harold, before we get back into some of the politics of the day, I want to... some people don't know that when firefighters started, that the insurance companies own the different fire companies, right?
Oh, my
and if you
goodness,
didn't have the right plaque on your house...
Correct. That's a long time ago. But a couple of 100 years ago, it's been a long time. But originally, they were fire companies.
Fire companies, yeah.
And if you didn't pay your share into your fire company and have your cast iron plaque
of the right company,
then you could be in great difficulty.
Right.
But that's a long time.
I know.
ago.
I thank God we moved far away from that. But just because at one time I had a friend who collected those old the plaques, that people would have on their front doors.
Well, it quickly became recognized as now a part of essential services that government should be responsible for.
Right. Now, to my knowledge, the International Association of Firefighters, we're in the middle of this 2016 campaign, has not yet made an endorsement for president, correct?
That's correct.
How do you see this whole thing playing out, or this field?
Well, how do I see it playing out? First of all, let me go back, if I may, just to set the stage quickly. We have this extraordinary membership of men and women. And, Bill, I think that our membership, if it's not overstating it, is a true reflection of the political dynamic of our country. I mean, our membership spanned the entire spectrum from Republican to Democrat, independent. We have conservatives, moderates. We're probably a middle, slightly right-leaning group, if you will, to progressive. My point is that we're a reflection, in a way, of the political spectrum of our nation, of the electorate. And so when we approach a decision, regardless if it's House, Senate, governors, state legislatures, we go into it to just look at a set of principles and a set of issues and not really utilize a party designation as the initial premise of our decision.
You support some Republicans and some Democrats?
Absolutely, absolutely. I invite anybody on the air, just go to the FEC and look at our FEC reports. We support candidates on both sides of the political aisle. Our principle is very simple, even if some would disagree with it. If you support us and the agenda for the men and women that we represent, then we support you, regardless of what letter is behind your name.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And in doing that, and to your question now about not endorsing, we have a history of endorsing, being very bold. I will remind you, in 2003, in August, we endorsed John Kerry when he was at 3%, and Howard Dean was the presumptive nominee. And we
early then.
It was very early, and we took that all the way into Iowa. And surprisingly, we come out of Iowa and out of New Hampshire, and history is history.
With the nominee.
Within 62,000 votes in Ohio, he would have been President of the United States. So it's not that we avoid these decisions, but on the other hand, we try to reflect the view of our members, and we try to take a look at all of the candidates to evaluate where they are. When we looked at it early last fall, when we had 22 candidates in the race on both sides, and we took a deep dive with our membership, Lake Research, that I know you're very familiar with, that did our surveys, we knew that for us, we were just going to take a while and focus on the rest of the political challenges: governors, Senate, House, state legislative bodies, mayors. That's our work. And now we're at the point where we are reevaluating that. Executive board will be coming together in the very near future, and we will take a look now at the field as it currently is. And again, we're taking a measure of our membership to see where they possibly have moved one way or the other from early last fall. And then we'll take all of that and make a decision. That's a long answer to say we haven't made the decision, but we're not shy about making a decision.
Well, in terms of reflecting where the American people are, not only, as you say, you've got all these various points of view represented, but I think a lot of the American people are right where you are in looking at the three candidates that are left and trying to make up their mind. And need to find out more about all of them. Yeah.
And exactly. So, we'll take their records or the lack thereof,
right.
and we'll take the temperature of our membership. That's a very important issue for us. We're elected. I always say we're elected to lead, but we're responsible to reflect also our membership's views, and we'll see where we end up.
President Schaetberger, great to see you, my friend. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for your sponsorship of the program, too. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Glad to do it.
We'll be right back. Wrap things up here on this Monday.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
A letter to the girl I used to be. Dear Emily, every time I watch baseball, a voice I no longer recognize whispers, "Ethan, do you remember? When you were going to be the first girl to play in the Major League Seattle Mariners rally cap." But to be honest, Emily, I don't. Dad told me that like it was someone else's bedtime story. But I do know you had that drive. Didn't let anyone tell you to wear shorts above your knees. Didn't care if boys thought your hair fell on your shoulders just right, but with girls, sleepovers meant the space between your shoulder and hers was a 6-inch fatal territory. The year you turned 11 was the first time you said out loud that you didn't want to live anymore. In therapy, you said you wouldn't make it to 21. On my 21st birthday, I thought about you. You were right. At 19, you started to fade. I tried to cross you out like a line in my memoir I wished I could erase completely. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the definition of death, but even though parts of you still exist, you are not here. Most of my friends have never heard your name until now. I've been trying to write this letter for 6 months. I still can't decide if it should be an apology or not. But now you will never hear Emily Smith announced at a college graduation. Get married. Give birth. When the prescribed testosterone started taking effect, my body stopped producing the potential for new life every month. I thought about your children, how I wanted them too. I let a doctor remove your breasts so that I could stand up straighter. Now, even if I somehow had those children, I wouldn't be able to nourish them. My body is obsolete, scarred cosmetic, but never C-section. I was 4 days late. They will never be grandparents. I was 1 week late. They will never hold their lover's sleeping figure. I was 11 days late. They will never breathe in a sunset and a sunrise in the same night. I was 2 weeks late. They will never learn to jump rope. I was 3 weeks late. They will never shout, "Watch, Mommy, watch me on the slide." I was 2 months late. A piece of us will never wrap their arms around our leg for comfort, but just to keep them from falling down. And I am sorry that this process is so slow, and all you can do is wonder if you ever had a place. You did. You still do. Don't forget that. Yours, Ethan. P.S. I never hated you.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Just a quick word about Donald Trump's announcement yesterday that he thinks we ought to have allow guns in the classrooms, at least in some classrooms. My questions are, who decides which teachers have guns and which don't? Where does the teacher keep the gun in the classroom? And is it always loaded? And by the way, if parents have to keep guns in their home, locked up and out of the reach of children, will teachers be covered by the same rules? And if not, why not? Guns in the classroom, there's no better evidence of just how dangerous Donald Trump really is. That's it for today, folks. Have a great Monday to start the week, and come back and see us again tomorrow.
This
we'll be looking for
is
you.
the Bill Press Show.